Single father CEO rescues bride chained inside a burning car. What follows will leave you speechless. It was a late evening, and the fading sun bathed the landscape in amber light, casting long shadows along a winding road that stretched to the forested outskirts of the city. Michael Hayes, a 38-year-old tech entrepreneur known for his genius and his emotional detachment, was driving his black SUV home after picking up his 5-year-old daughter, Emma, from daycare. Emma sat in the back seat, quietly humming a tune from her ballet class, her sparkly pink tutu catching what little light remained. They were less than 10 minutes from their gated community when Michael suddenly slammed on the brakes. Ahead, near the edge of the road, flames were flickering violently among the trees. Thick, black smoke spiraled upward, darkening the sky. He slowed the vehicle, eyes narrowing through the windshield. A silver car had crashed into a ditch. Its front end was crushed and it was engulfed in flames. "Daddy, what's that?" Emma asked, her voice tiny, filled with curiosity. Michael's heart pounded. He pulled over and barked, "Stay in the car, lock the doors, don't move." The moment he stepped out, a wave of intense heat slammed into him. The fire was growing fast, licking up the hood of the car and inching toward the windshield. The air stank of fuel, scorched metal, and something worse, something deeply wrong. Then he heard it, a voice, weak, panicked. "Help, somebody help." The sound was coming from inside the burning vehicle. Michael's adrenaline surged. He ran to the driver's side, only to find the door smashed inward. He crouched and peered through the cracked window, and what he saw made his blood run cold. A woman was slumped in the driver's seat. Her long brown hair was matted, partially singed. Her face was bloodied. Her eyes were closed. She wore a white wedding gown, torn, dirty, and burned at the edges. But that wasn't the worst part. She was chained to the steering wheel. A heavy iron chain was wrapped around her torso and the wheel, secured by an old, rusted padlock. Her wrists were bound, her body limp, as though posed in some kind of horrific, twisted display. "Oh my God," Michael whispered. "Please help." The voice came again, barely audible. She was still alive. Without hesitation, Michael grabbed a large branch on the roadside and smashed the remaining glass from the window. Shards flew everywhere as he reached in, trying desperately to unlock the chain, to loosen anything he could. The heat was unbearable. The dashboard was starting to melt. The flames were nearly at her dress. "Hey, stay with me," he yelled through a cough. "I'm getting you out. Just hold on." Her eyelids fluttered. For a split second, her eyes met his, vivid green, wide with sheer terror. "They'll find me! Kill me! Don't let them take me back," she gasped, and then passed out, her head slumping forward. No, stay with me," Michael shouted. He yanked his pocket knife from his jeans and began slicing at the strap around her wrist. The chain was too thick. He shifted, sweat dripping into his eyes, the flame scorching his arms as he leaned deeper inside. Behind him, he could hear Emma screaming. The fire roared louder, grunting. He threw his full weight into the effort. With a loud snap, part of the chain around her chest gave way from its welding. He reached in, grabbed her beneath the arms, and pulled with every ounce of strength he had left. She came loose just as the dashboard ignited in a sudden fireball. Michael fell back, dragging her onto the grass, shielding her with his own body as the car exploded behind them. A massive blast rocked the night, sending heat and debris soaring into the sky. Lying there, coated in ash, chest heaving, Michael clutched the unconscious woman in his arms. Emma was screaming for him from the SUV. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have called for help. Michael looked down. Her face was pale, lips barely moving. "You're safe now," he whispered. "I've got you. You're going to be okay." But in his gut, he knew, whatever nightmare she had escaped, it wasn't over. The hospital was a blur, bright lights, fast-moving nurses, and the sterile sting of disinfectant. Michael stood outside the emergency room, arms crossed tightly over his chest, stood still on his hands and shirt. The woman hadn't regained consciousness since the rescue. No ID, no phone, no bag, just a scorched wedding dress and heavy chains. Two police officers conferred nearby with a nurse. One of them, a serious-looking detective named Graves, approached Michael. "You're the one who found her?" he asked. Michael nodded. "Yes. She was chained up inside the car. I had to break her out." "You don't know who she is?" "Never seen her before." Graves studied him. "No license plate left on the vehicle. Burned off completely." "You said she spoke before passing out?" "She did," Michael replied, jaw tight. "She said, 'They'll come for me. Don't let them take me back.' Then she blacked out." Graves glanced at his partner. "Might be trafficking or a forced marriage. We've seen operations like that in this state. But without identification or testimony, she's just a Jane Doe. We'll have to wait." Hours passed. By midnight, the ER was overwhelmed with patients from a nearby accident. A hospital administrator approached Michael. "She's stable," she said, "but we don't have a capacity for long-term care. And since you were the one who brought her in..." Michael raised an eyebrow. "Are you asking me to take her?" "No family. No ID. She's not under arrest. If you're willing to supervise her recovery for now, it would help us greatly." He hesitated, then looked through the glass. She lay motionless in the hospital bed, for in her arm, oxygen tubing under her nose. Bits of burn lace still clung to her skin. Her bruised, broken face stirred something in him, an unfamiliar feeling. Maybe duty, maybe something more. "I'll take her," he said. He drove her to his house perched high on the cliffs of Pacific Heights. The sleek, glass-wall home overlooked the ocean, modern in style, yet still holding a quiet warmth. It hadn't been built for loneliness, but after losing his wife 4 years ago, the silence had slowly settled in. Only Emma's laughter brought it to life again. From the staircase, Emma watched as Michael gently carried the injured woman into the guest room. Her curious eyes took in the scorched dress, the bandaged wounds, and the mysterious presence now under their roof. "Is she a princess?" Emma asked softly. Michael paused, surprised. "Why do you think that?" Emma pointed. "Her dress is sparkly, but it's all burned, like she escaped from a dragon." Michael allowed himself a faint smile. "Maybe she did." "I'm going to call her Princess Fire," Emma said proudly, "because she lived through the flames." That night, Michael stood quietly in the guest room doorway, watching the woman sleep. Her face twisted in distress as she murmured, breath shallow, "No, please, not again." Her hands clawed lightly at the blanket. Michael stepped closer, unsure if he should wake her. Then she cried out, voice raw and frightened, "Don't make me go back to that house, please." Morning light filtered softly through the curtains, painting gold across the white sheets. Her eyelids fluttered open slowly, breath uneven. She didn't recognize the room or herself. The ceiling was unfamiliar. The air smelled faintly of lavender and salt. Her body ached, and the faint bruises on her wrist began to sting as panic rose. The door opened gently. A man entered, not threatening. Tired eyes, calm demeanor. He carried a tray with tea and soup. "Hey," he said softly, placing it on the nightstand. "You're safe. You were in a car accident. I found you." She tried to sit up. Her body resisted, but he helped her gently. "Who am I?" she rasped. He shook his head. "You haven't remembered yet. That's all right. Don't push it." She looked at him, searching. "And you?" "Michael Hayes," he replied. "My daughter and I have been taking care of you since that night." As if summoned, the door creaked open wider, and in ran a little girl with curly hair and a stuffed bunny. "That's her," the girl said brightly. "That's the princess I told you about." Michael chuckled. "Emma, remember, quiet voices, soft steps." Emma approached carefully. "Can I tell you your name?" The woman blinked, unsure. Emma smiled. "Princess Fire." Michael raised an eyebrow. "Princess Fire?" Emma nodded seriously. "Because you came from the fire and you didn't disappear." To their surprise, the woman let out a small, unsure laugh. Fragile but real. The first crack of something more than fear. In the days that followed, she remained nameless but began to rediscover pieces of herself. How to make tea, the tune of a lullaby, the comfort of warm blankets. She still avoided mirrors. startled at loud noises, and woke often from nightmares she couldn't explain. But she was healing, slowly. Michael stayed close without smothering her. He gave her space to find her rhythm, but made sure she always felt like she belonged. Emma, on the other hand, adored her completely. They painted together, built pillow forts, and whispered secrets in the garden like lifelong friends. One afternoon, while Michael worked, the three of them went grocery shopping. It was the woman's first time outside since the fire. Though she didn't know it yet, her name was Sophia. The store was bright and bustling, with music overhead and carts weaving through aisles. She clung to the cart handle, tense. Emma wandered a few steps ahead, drawn to a rack of stuffed animals. Sophia was distracted, comparing cereal boxes, when she looked up, and Emma was gone. "Emma?" she called, her voice tight. She dropped everything and ran. The fluorescent lights blurred. The aisles stretched endlessly. Her breath shortened. "Emma!" she called again. Turning a corner, she spotted a man in a gray hoodie crouching beside a child. Something inside her snapped. "Get away from her!" she screamed, sprinting forward. The man, startled, stepped back, just a store employee offering a sample. But she didn't see that. She saw locked doors, foreign voices, dragging hands. She collapsed, sobbing. Emma rushed to her, wrapping small arms around her. "I'm here. I'm right here." Michael appeared moments later, panic on his face. He dropped beside them, holding them close. "It's okay," he murmured, brushing hair from her face. "You're safe. She's safe." Tears streaked down her face. "I thought I lost her. I thought." Michael didn't respond right away, but in her eyes he saw it. This wasn't just about memory loss. It was grief, deep, soul-wrenching grief. She had lost something or someone, and she was terrified of losing again. That night, as Michael tucked Emma in, she whispered, "Is she okay?" "She's trying," Michael said, "and you're helping her more than you know." Later, he found the woman sitting alone by the window, arms wrapped around herself. He sat beside her. "Whatever happened to you, you don't have to face what's next alone." She looked at him. Her voice was quiet. "Thank you for finding me, even when I didn't know I was lost." Outside, stars pierced the sky, steady and soft like hope. She said his name was Darius. Michael froze. Her voice dropped lower. He wore a suit, spoke softly, told me I was special, that I'd make the perfect bride. Her eyes darkened. "They dressed me up. That dress wasn't mine. They called it a gift. Said it would be the last thing I'd ever own before I became someone's property." She turned toward him, dread in her eyes. "I didn't know who he was, just that I had to escape. I don't even remember how I got away." Michael let out a slow breath. "Do you remember your name?" She hesitated, then shut her eyes. "Sophia. My name is Sophia." He reached out, gently touching her shoulder. "Thank you for telling me." That night, as the storm howled to the cliffs and rain battered the windows, Michael couldn't sleep. He moved quietly through the house, checking locks and securing every window. The investigator's file was locked in a safe, but its contents stayed heavy in his mind. Past midnight, he noticed movement on the security monitor. A shadow crossing the backyard, lit briefly by a motion-activated floodlight. Michael grabbed a handgun from the lockbox by the door and stepped outside. The cold rain soaked him instantly, but he moved swiftly, eyes combing the dark. He saw a tall figure by the hedges, broad-shouldered, wearing a hood, watching. "Hey!" Michael shouted. The man turned, startled. Their eyes met for a brief second, then he bolted. Michael chased him, heart pounding, mud splashing underfoot, branches tearing at his coat. They raced through the side path, over the lawn, past the gate. At the edge of the woods, the man vanished into the dark. Michael stopped, breath ragged. He returned home, soaked, adrenaline still burning. Inside, Sophia stood in the foyer barefoot, Emma in her arms. Her voice trembled. "What happened?" He met her eyes. Someone was out there, watching us, but they're gone now. Sophia clutched Emma tighter. "They've found me." Michael stepped closer, rain dripping from his hair. "No, Sophia, They don't get to take you again. Not this time. In the restless days that followed, Michael reinforced the alarm system. The gun stayed close. But Sophia had changed. She was no longer just scared. She was resolute. Her memories had returned, painful but clear. One morning in the kitchen, sunlight poured across the counter where Emma scribbled with crayons. Michael drank coffee, watching as Sophia stared silently into her tea. Then she spoke. I remember it all. Michael set his cup down. I was working 2 jobs in Romania, barely surviving. Then I saw a job posting. Nanny work in Switzerland. They offered good pay, housing, a visa. I thought it was my escape. Her hands trembled around the mug. They flew me to Belgium first. Said it was for paperwork. But the place they brought me to wasn't a hotel. It was a prison. No windows. No phones. Doors locked from outside. Michael's jaw clenched. They took my passport. Trained us like cattle. How to walk. Smile. Obey. Then they sold us to rich men across Europe. Some were old, some young, all of them cruel. I was bought by a man named Victor Langdon, a baron, supposedly a sadist. Michael's fist tightened. And Darius, he runs it all. He sold me to Victor. Said I should feel lucky. Victor might let me live longer than the others. Hinging in the back with her bunny. The sky was clear. Then an SUV slammed into them. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. The car spun into a ditch. Michael's ears rang. Blood dripped down his face. He turned. Sophia was conscious, stunned. Emma was screaming in the back. The doors were ripped open. 2 masked men. One aimed a gun. Michael lunged to the glove box, but was struck hard in the ribs. He collapsed, choking. "Take the girl," one of them shouted. "No." Sophia launched into the back seat, shielding Emma. Michael, gasping, kicked the door shut on one attacker's arm. The man screamed. Sophia shoved him out the far door. "Run, baby. Run to the trees." Emma bolted. One man chased her. Sophia followed, rage burning through her terror. She tackled the man, striking his face until he dropped. Behind her, tires screeched. Michael had climbed into the driver's seat and rammed the SUV into a remaining attacker, scattering him. At home, they locked every door, called the FBI, huddled together, breathless and bruised. Michael groaned in pain, holding his side. Sophia clean as wound, hands steady, eyes shining with tears. "I can't keep running," she whispered. Michael nodded. "Then we end it." She met his eyes, her voice steel. "I'm going to face him. I'm going to stop him. No more hiding." He touched her cheek. "We do it together." She held his hand. "I know, but if I fail, promise me you'll protect her." His grip tightened. "You're not going to fail. And neither am I." Her voice broke. "When Victor tried to consummate the marriage, I stabbed him with broken glass. I ran. I don't even know how I made it to the U.S. I must have had help, but I woke up chained in a car left to die in flames." Michael's chest ached. "You should be in protective custody. This is too big, too dangerous." "I know," she said quietly, "but I can't leave. Not yet. I love Emma. I care about you more than I thought I could again. But I can't live free while so many others are still trapped. I remember names, places. If I testify, we can take this whole thing down." Michael leaned forward. "Then we do it, together, but we do it smart. No more surprises." He reached out to the FBI through private channels. They started building a case. Slowly, carefully. It would take time. Sophia stayed hidden. But Darius was always one step ahead. It was supposed to be a quiet drive. Michael at the wheel, Sophia beside him, Emma SI. Neither of them looked away. The estate was nestled deep in hills outside Monterey, lavish, expansive, and surrounded by tall walls and armed guards. From the outside, it resembled the retreat of a successful businessman, but inside it was a golden cage. Sophia stood before grand oak doors, once again wearing the white dress Darius had made her wear. Her expression was composed, though her heart pounded in her chest. This time, she wasn't a prisoner. She was a weapon. Sewn into the lining of her dress near her collarbone was a wire. Michael and the FBI were listening. This had been her choice. Her mission. The doors opened. Darius waited, wearing his usual calculated smile, his suit pristine, his demeanor unchanged. Well, he said smoothly. The runaway bride returns. I expected scars, not steel. Sophia remained silent as he took her hand and guided her into the main hall. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, and polished marble gleamed under her feet. But beyond the luxury, she saw the truth. Iron bars on doors, guards posted like statues, and young girls with hollow eyes peering from darkened hallways. Come, Darius said, gesturing toward a private lounge. We have things to settle. Your escape cost me more than you know. I needed time to think, she replied evenly. But now I understand. I know my place. I'm ready to belong to you. Darius narrowed his eyes, studying her. Trust isn't free. Trust requires sacrifice. She offered a faint smile. Then, test me. It was the cue. Outside, concealed in vehicles and among the trees, federal agents prepared to strike. Michael, dressed in tactical black, gave the silent command. Now! The team moved, quiet and deadly. The front gate was breached. Guards dropped before they could react. Inside, chaos exploded. Sophia grabbed a fire extinguisher and smashed open a nearby bedroom door. Go! She whispered urgently to the terrified girls inside. Help is here. Run. She raced from room to room, yelling above the alarms. You're free. Leave now. Gunfire echoed from below. Michael sprinted through the corridors, dodging bullets, diving behind columns. A man lunged at him with a knife. Michael slammed him into a wall, disarmed him, and used the blade to cut through zip ties binding two girls in a cellar. Outside go, follow the lights. Screams and gunshots rang through the compound. Upstairs, Darius grabbed Sophia's wrist, yanking her backward. You think I wouldn't prepare for betrayal? He snarled. You are nothing. Property. She twisted, yanked herself free, and punched him across the face. He staggered. That's for every girl you caged, she said. He pulled a gun from his jacket and aimed it at her chest. Wrong move, he said coldly. She froze. Down the hallway. Michael turned the corner just in time to see the gun rise. Without hesitation, he threw himself forward. The shot cracked through the air. Michael crashed to the ground, the bullet tearing into his side. No! Sophia screamed, catching him as he collapsed. Darius raised the gun again, but he was too late. Agents flooded the hall, swarming him, wrestling the weapon away as he cursed and thrashed. Sophia cradled Michael's head, his blood soaking into the lace of her dress. Stay with me, she begged, her voice trembling. Don't close your eyes. Please. He coughed, trying to smile. That dress still looks better on you than it did last time. Tears poured down her cheeks. Why? She asked. Why would you take a bullet for me? Michael's voice was barely a whisper. Because you're the first thing I've dared to dream of in a long time. Please, she cried. You don't get to die. You're my dream, too. His eyes fluttered shut. Michael, she screamed. But in the distance, sirens approached. Medics swarmed in. Hands pulled her gently away. Oxygen masks, compresses, urgent voices. He was still breathing, barely, but alive, as Darius was dragged away in handcuffs. Beaten and bleeding, Sophia stood in the hall that had once been her prison. All around her, girls sobbed, hugged, and stepped into the light for the first time. For Sophia, the nightmare was finally breaking, but her heart still clung to one fragile hope. Would Michael survive? The sharp scent of antiseptic reached Michael before his eyes opened. Every inch of him ached. Each breath burned. Machines beeped softly. He was alive, but it felt like waking after years of sleep. His vision finally focused. On her, Sophia sat by his bedside, her hand gripping his tightly. Her face was pale, her eyes red, but when she saw him stir, she smiled through her tears. You're awake, she whispered, voice shaking. Michael blinked, trying to speak. You stayed. Of course, she said, leaning in and gently brushing his hair from his forehead. You saved me. You saved all of us." He smiled faintly. "Did we get him?" She nodded, tears falling. "Darius is in custody. So are the others." The FBI coordinated across borders. Dozens of girls were rescued. The ring is gone. Relief washed over him like a tide. "Thank God." They said none of this would have happened without you, or your testimony. Michael turned his head slowly toward her. "What about you?" "I'm under protection now," she said. "New identity, full immunity. I can go anywhere, start over." He winced, trying to sit up. "Or you could stay. With me. With us." Sophia reached into her bag, her smile growing despite the tears. "I was hoping you'd say that." From beneath hospital forms, she pulled out a delicate loop, twisted entirely from paper. It was white delicate, and for a moment, Michael didn't understand, until Sophia gently slid it onto his finger. "A paper chain?" he asked, puzzled. Her eyes sparkled. "It's a proposal." He blinked. "You're asking me to marry you?" "Yes." Her smile deepened. "You once broke my chains. Now I'm giving you one, freely. It's my way of saying, I choose you. Not because I need saving, but because I want to share this life with you." Michael gave a breathless laugh, then winced from the pain. "Not fair. I can't even kneel to top that." She leaned in and softly kissed his forehead. "You'll get your moment, but for now, just say yes." "Yes," he whispered, his eyes shining with something far deeper than gratitude. 1,000 times yes. 2 weeks later, Michael returned home, leaning on a cane, still recovering, but his heart full. From the living room came the sound of laughter. He stepped inside and saw Emma nestled in Sophia's lap, wrapped in a blanket, reading fairy tales together. The moment Emma saw him, she leapt up and ran into his arms. "Daddy, you're back." He picked her up, grinning through the discomfort. "Hey, firecracker." Sophia watched him with tears in her eyes. "Mommy," Emma called, reaching out. "Come here." It was the first time she'd used that word. Sophia froze for a heartbeat, hand over her chest, then stepped into their embrace. In that moment, something settled, something real. Home. That evening, the sun dipped into the sea in soft waves of rose and gold. Sophia and Michael stood hand in hand on the terrace, the wind brushing gently around them. The sea was calm, and for once, there was no fear in their eyes. "So," Michael said with a smirk, "any honeymoon plans?" Sophia laughed. "Anywhere, as long as it's not inside a trunk chained to a steering wheel." He shook his head, smiling. "You're amazing." "I'm alive," she said, "and I'm loved." They looked out in silence. Two survivors wrapped in a love forged through fire, now finally standing in the light of peace, freedom, and a second chance. On the day of the wedding, the sky over the California coast bloomed in lavender and coral. A soft breeze whispered through palm trees as the scent of ocean salt and wildflowers lingered in the air. White chairs lined the beach, all facing a driftwood arch decorated with pale roses. Guests murmured in awe as the gentle sound of an acoustic guitar played nearby. But no one held their breath like Michael. He stood barefoot in the sand, dressed in a white linen shirt and navy pants, the ocean wind tossing his hair. In his hand, he held a ring, a symbol of a promise unbroken by time or pain. Emma walked ahead, scattering rose petals from a little basket, wearing a crown of flowers and a radiant smile. She turned to check everyone was watching, then flashed her gap-toothed grin at Michael before skipping the last few steps to the side. Then the crowd stood. Sophia appeared at the top of the sandy path, glowing in the golden light. Her dress was simple, elegant, no sequins, no shine, just flowing white fabric that danced with the wind. Her feet were bare. Her hair was tied back with a single pearl. Her eyes locked with Michael's. Each step she took dissolved the shadows of her past. There was no fear on her face, no chains in her soul, only peace, only love. When she reached him, Michael took her hands. "You're real," he whispered. "I always was," she said softly, "but now I get to live like it." Their officiant, a friend of Michael's from college, began the short ceremony with quiet reverence. He spoke of pain, of healing, of the rare love that chooses to stay when escape is easier. Michael turned to Sophia. I vow never to be your rescuer, only your partner, your equal, your forever safe place. Tears filled Sophia's eyes. I vow to never run from love again. I choose you every single day with all the freedom I fought so hard to reclaim. When they were pronounced husband and wife, the crowd erupted in joy. Michael cradled her face and kissed her, a kiss full of everything they had been through and everything they now stood for. That night, under a sky full of stars, the celebration continued in soft joy, gentle music, laughter, and dancing beneath swaying string lights. Emma led the first dance, pulling both her parents into sand. They twirled and stumbled in time with her, giggling as they went. Later, when the beach had quieted and the guests had gone, the three of them stood together with paper lanterns in their hands. Michael lit Emma's first. Make a wish, he whispered. Emma squeezed her eyes shut, whispered a wind, and released a lantern. It floated upward like a tiny glowing moon. Sophia lit hers next, holding it for a long time before letting it go. Then she turned to Michael and took his hand. This is the life I chose, she said, her voice tender. I'm not chained anymore. I'm not someone's property. I'm not that girl trapped in fear. I choose this. I choose love. I choose us. Michael didn't respond with words. He just pulled her and Emma close, arms wrapped around them both. They watched the lanterns rise, joining dozens of others now lighting the sky. Symbols of prayers of rebirth, of hope found. The waves whispered against the shore. The stars glowed above. And a new chapter began. Not an ending, a beginning. From darkness to healing. From chains to vows. From trauma to triumph. This wasn't just a story of Sophia and Michael. It was a story of survival, of bravery, of choosing love over fear, and a reminder that even in the darkest hour, there's always a flicker of light, sometimes in the places you least expect. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey. If this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of the strength within love and second chances, consider subscribing to Echoes of Resilience. Every week, we share tales of resilience, connection, and the kind of love that transforms. Subscribe now and join a community that believes in hope, healing, and the power of a story well told. Until next time, stay kind, stay hopeful, and never stop believing in happy endings.